digest. From lane to the new shining ground, echo chants where the legends are found. Heroes carved in the heart of time, we march on through grit and grime. Oh Tottenham, Tottenham till I die. Raise the banner, let it fly. Through the rain, through the fire, this is my club, my only desire. Oh Tottenham, Tottenham till I die. Raise the banner, let it fly. Through the rain, through the fire, this is my club, my only desire. Echoes of King and Greaves in the air. Every goal, the sound declares. Heartbeats pound like a drummer's song, marching forward, fierce and strong. We're the ones who rise in the clash. Numbers running in a white shirt dash. History burns in the roaring crowd. Every game we scream it loud. I'm Tottenham, Tottenham till I die. Raise the banner, let it fly. Through the rain, through the fire, this is my club, my only desire. We're the ones who rise in the clash. Numbers running in a white shirt dash. History burns in the roaring crowd. Every game we scream it loud. I'm Tottenham, Tottenham till I die. Raise the banner, let it fly. Through the rain, through the fire, this is my club, my only desire.
Hey, what's going on, guys? And welcome to Before the Whistle, Tottenham Hotspur versus Luton Town here on the absolutely great channel THFC TWD. Because Tottenham never says die. For those that are tuning in and wondering where Dermatron is, he is currently dealing with a technical difficulty. He will be along in just 1 second. So, so of that point, let's go ahead and get right into it. Because the first leg of today's doubleheader is in the books with Tottenham and Wickham leveling at a 2-2 draw. I'm sure there's a lot of opinions on the play of Tottenham Hotspur. That being said, it was nice to see Papsar grab a double today. It's always nice to see individual performances, and it looks like there were some very good individual performances in that game. But overall, I would probably have to classify this as nothing but a glorified training session. And you wonder whether or not there was maybe some motivation issues. I don't know, but all that's said and done, and now we're focusing on the second leg this afternoon, and of course, the Tottenham Hotspur will make the trek down to the beautiful town of Luton to take on the Hatters. The lineups are already out. And in goal today, who's wearing the captain's band, will be Guillermo Vicario. Jed Spence is going to be on the back line today, followed by Kevin Danso and Mikey Van de Ven. Destiny Udogie will be on the left. Not a bad, solid back five. I would probably assume your double pivot is going to be Basuma and Gray. Mikey Moore is going to be in the lineup playing the 10 with Johnson, Tell, and Kudus as your front three. On the bench today, it's going to be Kinski, Gunter, Scarlett, Donnelly, Yang, Lancashire, Devine, Kira Matten, Bayfield, Roswell, Russell Denny, and Callum Oloisi. So it's going to be a nice steady dose of the youth this afternoon. And I gotta say, man, I'm a little happy to see this lineup. It's kind of an interesting midfield. not a bad midfield with Basuma, Gray, and Moore. But that being said, we saw a little bit of Moore somewhat playing that 10 last week against Reading in that first half, and it looked pretty good. The biggest, the biggest withholdings of this match are going to be Rodrigo Betancourt. He was a late scratch due to illness. And I'm getting word right now on Dominic Solanke as well, too, because he mysteriously has been left out of this one as well, too. So anyway, interesting day all around. And of course, we are still waiting for Dermot. Quick reminder to make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons, because of course, we are on a march to 5K. And every time that we do these watch alongs before the whistle, every time we do the news beats, all of that is geared toward obviously the 5K subscriber. But it's not just about the subscribers, it's also about the memberships as well, too, because as Derma pointed out to you yesterday and the following day, that there are going to be absolute opportunities for us to do members only. And there's 3 different tiers of memberships as well, too. So every membership is there to in a budget friendly way to help you guys out. So grab those memberships as well, too. Derma, it's good to see you, man.
Yeah, big up, guys. Welcome to THFC Tour. Sorry about that. I was just had a bit of difficulty in the background, and Spurs play doesn't seem to be wanting to be doing what it should be doing. But never mind, that is Spurs play for you. Always doing it. Always doing that. Look, I was in the background. I did agree with you calling it a glorified training session. I think it was an opportunity for players today to prove to Thomas Frank that they can be trusted in the game coming up. And I think it was the right thing to do. I think it was a game that needed to be done. And I think it's a good idea to have these games back to back, because it shows that where he needs to improve, who he needs to leave behind when it comes to the Asian tour. Look, I thought Richie was really poor today. I really did. I thought Sonny was poor. I thought Odegaard actually put in a good shift, to be fair to him. And when the kids came on, the kids showed more grit and determination than some of the youngsters, than some of the senior players did, which I thought says it all, really. Says it all. I want to welcome a few people in. I want to say big up to John 68, big up Dermot and Sean and Steve. Let's hope it's better than this morning. Oh, big up, please make it hope. I think the man in the match was the post. I have to say, look, I love Spurs play, right? But the fucking cameraman was fucking useless. He just kept, every time he went down the left, right-hand side, there was a massive post in the way, and you couldn't see what you were doing. Big up, he says, big up, Steve. We've got Wayne Bonner. Good morning, afternoon, everyone. Hope you're all well. How was the Wigan game despite the draw? Let's put it this way. There's more than Coke in this cup. That's how bad tequila, rubbish. Absolutely spot on. Frank said to himself, I picked the wrong week to quit drinking. Yeah, that's so true. We've got big up to Sean Johnston. Big up, Jono. Have you got the lineups? We do. And I'm going to bring them up now for you. I know Steve has read them out, but this is the lineups, guys. It's Vicario in goal. Spence, Danso, Van der Ven, Doggy, Basuma, Gray, Moore, Johnson, Tell, Kudos. Apart from Tell, I think this is the same lineup as it. Apart from Vicario and Tell, I think this was the same lineup that started against Reading last Saturday. Apart from those two changes.
Yeah, I think Dominic
Solanke
as well. And then Dominic Solanke was in that lineup last week, and I think it was Jamie Donnelly as well too. So Donnelly's today on the bench, and suspiciously Solanke has been a bit omitted.
Yeah, I think I think Bentacle was ill. I think also Solanke's picked up a bug as well. But on the bench, guys, we've got Kinksky, Gunter, Scarlett, Donnelly, Yang, Lancashire, Devine, Kerry Metin, Byfield, Roswell, Russell Denny, and Olsey, who was actually on the bench for the first game, for the game for the Wigan game. So he's now on this bench as well. So a double header for him today. So that is the lineup. Sean, I hope that's okay. Oh, sorry, you didn't really see much of the lineup, to be fair to you. Sorry. There you go.
Yeah, it's actually it's actually not a bad lineup.
No, I don't think so.
The curious thing for me is going to be that double pivot of Gray and Basuma, and it looks like Gray is potentially playing that is potentially playing the 8, and so you're probably going to see a lot of movement from Gray as well too. The one thing that I like is the curious one was Mikey Moore is kind of playing in that 10 position underneath the attacking 3. And to me, that kind of gets me a little bit excited. But, to your point earlier, as you mentioned that this was an opportunity for some of the young kids to get a good run out. I think today, the second game as well too, is another opportunity, and especially some of those guys on the bench like Dane Scarlett, Olowissi, and Will Lancashire. I hope those guys get a nice little run in the second half as well too. I would probably assume we're going to see Jamie Donnelly as well, at some point in this game. But that being said, the curious two are going to be Gray and Moore a bit. I can understand why you're not necessarily a fan of this one, but that being said, I like the back 5. The question is there going to be enough punch in the attack, in the build-up? That being said, also the press and their ability to get the ball. Yeah.
I think there will be. I think Brennan Johnson's got a point to prove this game. I think Mateus Taylor getting his first start, I think as well, and Kudos starting as well, will show the quality he has. I like the lineup. I think this is a decent lineup, and I'm just wondering if Frank is really looking at Jed Spence this preseason, if he's really looking at Spence and Burrow, who will get the nod, because it's going to be very interesting. I think before they go away, who doesn't go on this Asian tour?
Yeah. For sure.
And I also think like Basuma is playing for his future. I think Archie Gray as well. He's not playing for his future, but Archie Gray is playing to get into the first team, to get in to be a regular starter. I think Archie Gray will be used as a squad player this year. Mikey Moore, we know he's forced his way. He wants to go out on loan. But does he change the manager's mind? Does he say, no, you're staying because you're in my plans for the season? I don't think so. I think Mikey Moore will go out on loan. Where does he go out on loan? Where does it beneficially benefit him? I think a lower Premier League side.
Potentially.
I want to see Lancashire again. I was impressed with Lancashire, and I was impressed with Alfie Devine. So it's interesting. I like the idea. Something grabbed me this morning. I was watching before the start of the Wigan game that Thomas Frank was deep in conversation with Romero. Now, you got Sonny there, who's your captain. You would have thought you would have been deep in conversation with your club captain of who's playing where, what you want to say on the pitch. I just thinking, are we looking at Thomas Frank already made up his mind on the captaincy, and it's going to be Romero who's going to be his club captain this year?
That is a very good question, because you're absolutely right. If Sonny is wearing the armband, and yet he is pulling Romero aside and giving him instruction for the rest of the team, I would probably tend to agree with you. Let me ask you this though. Do you think that giving Sonny the armband is just a symbol of respect, knowing that eventually he's potentially going to end up leaving a little bit later this summer?
No, not really, because he's club captain anyway. He's club until Thomas Frank says otherwise, says you're not club captain. So I think with the plays that were available for this morning's team, which I will bring up now for you, the lineup for that team, if I can remember which one it was. There we go. That was the lineup for this morning. So you probably could say, Romero could be captain, probably Bentacore, who was admitted due to ill health, by the way. And can I say, Abbott done extremely well this morning. Abbott had a really good game.
That's good to see. Because we didn't see a lot of Abbott last week.
No,
and it's nice to see that he was taking advantage of the opportunity that was given him. The interesting thing, though, is from all aspects, Odebear had a pretty decent run. How, just out of curiosity, how and of course Papstar, but I need to ask you, how was Bergvall's appearance today?
I thought Bergvall played very well, actually. He was a bit quiet in the first half. Just let me make that a bit bigger for you guys so you'd be able to see the lineup from this morning. But I thought Bergvall did a really quiet job. He was professional. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. This was Wickham. This was a League One side. Brandon Austin is not capable of being the third choice goalkeeper. I rarely said, I said it before, they made a mistake and letting Josh Keeley go. Josh Keeley today would have done a better job in goal than Brandon Austin. The second Wickham goal, you can't take away from their number 7. What a cracker. Top corner. You couldn't stop it. But Luca was sort of pulled out of position. And once he was pulled out of position, there was nobody marking the number 7 for Wickham, which left him in acres of space. I was very disappointed with Sonny too today. I really do believe Sonny's just going through the motions. I think this wanting to leave the club, or the club saying you can go or you can stay, I think is weighing heavily on his mind. And I think his acts coming through in these performances. So I think that has to be nipped in the bud sooner rather than later. I think the club have to come out and say one way or the other what's happening with him. I don't like this.
I agree with you. You know, that's a very astute point as well too, because as a player, and the mentality that goes into it, understanding that you know, the club that he has been so loyal to is ready to move on, and has given him permission to talk. I would assume that that very much does weigh on the player. I would like to think that Sonny's professionalism will allow him to not only train and play. But that being said, you know, when you look at these type of performances, and last week was also another one of those performances where you're kind of left scratching your head, wondering, like, you know, the head is down, the body language of them, it just looks like frustration, and that is not the Sonny that we all know and love. And so I guess it absolutely begs the question of whether or not he knows at this stage that maybe he's just not cut out for the speed of the game anymore, at least on at the English level.
Yeah. Look, I just don't think that. I just don't think. Look, I feel sorry for Sonny, because I think Sonny is a legend. But as we were discussing last night and during the week, I think Sonny's time has sadly come. Maybe the injuries have caught up with him or whatever. I just feel the club at the moment are just using him as a cash cow, so they could get their money out from the Asian tour. Because you know, without Sonny, you're going to lose. With Sonny there but not playing, you gain 75%. Sonny not turning up, you're going to lose 50% of your income. Now, the question I will ask,
I was going to say, that's just my fault, man. Go ahead.
The question I will ask: who's Tottenham going to turn to next? Will they turn to Romero, try to tap into the Argentinian market? Will they use this young South Korean lad that got coming out? Will they tap into that market again? Will they try to tap into the Swedish market with Kulu? I think the club have been so lucky with Sonny for the last 10 years, having a marketing dream with Sonny. I think they're now realizing, oh shit, what are we going to do? Because are we now going to have South American preseason tours next season?
That's a very interesting point, right? Maybe it's just me. Like, I would like to see this team focus on building, you know, a sustainable winner instead of relying on one player as a market draw. I understand that, you know, their business model allows for these type of things where you can market off the back of a certain player. But, you know, for me, I'm hoping that, you know, if they're not actively trying to go out to find another face of the franchise, that's fine. I would like just to see this team build a sustainable winner. instead of just having that one face where your preseason is dictated by that player. But that being said, it makes sense for Romero, right? World Cup winner with Argentina, two-time Copa America winner. And would it be something that if maybe they did a preseason tour against like teams from the Argentinian Premier in the preseason, maybe would it be something that maybe that could happen in the United States on a summer tour potentially? Could be, but for me, it's just like, man, I would like to see them get out of this habit of having that one face where everything is dictated because of a certain nationality. I just want to see a goddamn winner.
Yeah. Wayne says sounds about right. The club care more about money than anything else they're treating. Right. I want to go back to the lineup for today. Just let me bring that up again, guys, because I want to talk formations. I want to see how we think Spurs will line up today. Now, look, it looks like if I just bring it up there, where is it? Come on, Tottenham. Thank you. I don't want, every time you're pressing it, I do not want to go into Spurs play. I've got it already on the other monitor. Look, I think we set up today in a 4-3-3 formation. So I want to ask you guys in the chat. Big up to Mick Harmlick as well. I said, how are you doing, Dermot? I've had my hand operation. Can't drive or do anywhere. Well, let Mick, firstly, hope you feel better. Hope to see you back up. Well, I've just seen what Philip Brady's put. I am giggling at that. Hope to see you back soon, guy Mick. But listen, join us. Listen to us. Let us help you through your recovery. Big up to Philip Brady. He says, great to see such possibility around. Oh man, a fun base. Not. It's early preseason. Give the few a few more games to get his Thomas. Yeah, I get it, Philip. I do. But to be all honesty, look, I know we're playing Wickham of all teams. Wickham is a team we should have battered. Yeah, I'm all about giving players time on the ball, minutes. I get that. But Richarlison today, he was woeful. Absolutely dreadful. I think when the kids came, can I just say the kids came on, they showed more passion in the 15 minutes that all of them are on than some of them senior players showed in the first 75 minutes.
As they should, because if you're a Jamie Donnelly, if you're an Aloise, if you're a fringe first team player, these are the opportunities that you need to take. And I'm not surprised to hear that you actually were quite impressed with some of the younger players, because that's exactly what you would expect for them to come out and just literally give it 100%. I do want to ask you this question about Richarlison, because I know that you were not impressed. Considering we didn't see him last week, and this is his first preseason appearance, are you willing to give him a pass for today, just considering this was his first opportunity to get on the pitch and get his legs going? I know it wasn't up to your standard, fair enough, and it probably wasn't up to any of the anybody in the chat as well too, what they were expecting. But considering this is his first preseason match, like if this was against like Arsenal or Bayern or PSG, I can understand that. But again, first time out against Wickham, I don't want to bury the guy after this.
I get what people are saying. You're saying the same thing as Philip. Second game of preseason, first for Richarlison. That's why Wickham's fifth. I get that. I do get that, and I do put that into my thinking. I do put that into my thoughts on the game. But for me, Richarlison looks scared to run at some points. He looks scared to really push his body. And you had other players. Odegaard, this was, I think, Odegaard's first game of preseason today. He made his first, and he was brilliant. I thought Odegaard, I was really impressed with Odegaard, taking on his man, really pushing it. Look, I understand it's only preseason. I get it. And also get that people are going to say it's just a training session. It doesn't matter. Thomas Frank was not impressed. He really was not impressed what he saw out there today. When he was leaving the game, they showed a picture of him, and he was shouting through the fence at 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 some of the players. I like Thomas Frank because he will not take passengers. Thomas Frank will not allow passengers in his team. He wants everyone to work hard. I thought Odegaard worked hard today. I thought Bergville did well today. I thought Abbott, who I think that's Abbott's first game of preseason today. He's been he was exceptional today in the number 6 role. Really played well. Papa Sarr, I thought, played well today. Sonny, I thought Sonny was a little bit again off it. I don't know why. It could be a number of things. But just for Charlton, for me, I get what Philip's saying. Let's see how the Luton game. I'm not having the knives out for him, but I just think I think there's something in his head mentally blocking him from pushing himself to the limit because of all the injuries he's had over the years.
Yeah.
And I just think if it's more of a mental block than a physical block. But as I said, Odegaard today, that was his first preseason game, and I thought he played really well.
Yeah, I think I was going to say, I think you might be. I think you might be onto something because because of the magnitude of the injuries that Richarlison has suffered. Knowing exactly how players think, they're going to be a little gun shy the first one out because they're trying to avoid injury, right? So they're going to pick and choose the times they're going to make their runs, and I think you might be onto something, right? Where the difference between a guy like Odegaard or a guy like for instance, Mikey Moore, younger guys that really don't have that type of injury history, guys who feel like their training has gone good to the point where they can actually go out there and just play hard and not worry about injuries. Where a guy like Richarlison, who's like, well, I got to take a step back here because I want to be available to start the season, so I'm gonna pick and choose. I'm going to pick and choose where I'm going to hustle and where I'm going to push it because I want to get through this match. Yeah. But mainly, I want to get through preseason healthy. To your point, to your point, Derma, that's I think you're spot on with that.
Yeah. Look, we will go more into that game later. I will do a post-match pre-record thoughts on my games, and I will give my player ratings to the games as well. But with the formation today, it looks like a 4-3-3 with Archie Gray playing in the number 6 role and more either Basuma and Gray playing as the 6 and 8 and more playing as a 10 with Johnson, Tell and Kudus as a front three. I quite like the idea of Tell playing up front. I like the idea of that because I think that's his natural position. People say he plays better on the left. Maybe so. But we still need this striker. We still need this number 9 that's going to go out there and get us done. Today, would you have put Kudus on the right, Tell on the left, and Johnson down the middle? I would have tried him out as a striker today.
Yeah, that's a very good question because, as you know, Brennan Johnson did play up top for Nottingham Forest, and he has had some time in the Premier League playing in that target spot. It's actually very tempting. But the interesting thing about this lineup is I would probably assume they're going to line up in a 4-2-3-1. At least defensively, having that double pivot for defensive purposes, because essentially you got two sixes on the pitch, and I'm probably sure that was put in there for defensive purposes. But pushing forward, I can actually see this looking like a 3-5-2 as they're pushing forward with Udogie bombing down that left hand side as a wing back, and having a combination of Kudus, Tell and Johnson mix matching between a 9 and a false 9, giving them more opportunities and more targets in the box. So I think by extension, I think you're going to see a combination of Johnson potentially being that target, Tell being that target, Kudus as well too, and they'll probably mix and match that false 9, that inside forward role.
Yeah, I agree. I just want to ask the question: are you surprised with the amount of first team players that were left to play Wickham that didn't play in the Luton game. Are you surprised by that? Because I was a little bit. If you look at the lineup there compared to the lineup that I have here,
Mhm.
I would have thought Porro Romero would have gone to the Luton game.
Yeah.
I tell you, I was tell you one thing. I was impressed with Luca again. He is an animal. So my question to you in the chat is, do you keep Luca for the season? For me, yes, for definite.
Yeah.
I think he's a squad player this year.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it. But to answer your first question, am I surprised? Not really, because there are certain selections that you want to see go on the road and play in that environment. But also you also consider some of these senior players that it's maybe for health reasons it's just easier to keep them back at Hotspur way, but also it's also maybe a consideration that they actually put more emphasis on Wickham than they did with Luton. And when you look at both lineups side by side and comparatively speaking, the kids that we just assumed were going to be a part of that Wickham were actually the ones that were going on the road. And you look at the bench against Luton as well too. It's essentially academy players, which is not a bad thing. But to me, when all this, when all the dust was settled and we got to look at both lineups, it's apparent that Frank just decided to prioritize Wickham at home, and for that reason, he allowed certain senior players just to stay at Hotspur way. So from that standpoint, no, I don't think I'm really all that surprised.
Big up Tequila says him running in most of this game because he's not got much talent on the ball. So Richie is in big trouble and he's scared to do. Now it is lining up as a 4-3-3. Now, how it's lining up, and this is going to be interesting, is the midfield is Gray and Basuma as the sort of 6 and 8. Kudos is playing in the 10 role with a front three of Brennan Johnson, Matthias Tell, and Mikey Moore on the left and Johnson on the right. Now, that is interesting. Kudos playing in number 10. He can play there. He has played there for West Ham. I like the idea of Archie Gray probably playing as a 6 and probably Basuma as an 8. So, but we got to think back. Me and Philip Brady did the commentary on this. Was the game when we played Luton here last time in Kenilworth Road, where Basuma fell over because he tripped up on a banana skin, because either that or we thought there was a 50 quid note on the floor and he went diving on it, and got sent off for diving. And he's never the same player again after that season.
Correct.
Kudus in the number 10. Are you excited by that? That's really sort of. I'm getting a little bit excited seeing that. Just a little bit excited to see what he can do there.
And I'm glad that Thomas Frank is allowing him to do it. As we know that Mohamed Kudus came in talking about his desire to potentially experiment in that type of role. I think we got a little bit of a look at it last week in his ability to distribute. It looks like he's got the vision. So for me, it's the unknown that absolutely gets me excited to see it. I mean, I thought I'm pretty sure you and I and the rest of the chat just assumed that he was probably going to play that out and out wing position. But if he steps into this role today and is consistent with his distribution, it changes the entire the entire aspect, right? At that 10 position. We saw a little bit last week with Mikey Moore and Jamie Donnelly and Alfie Devine. I think we all agree that we walked away pretty happy with that. And so now this is an opportunity for Kudus to
I'm sorry.
get in that
I'm
mix.
sorry. I'm sorry, Steve. I'm just laughing at Tequila's what he put in for how Basuma got sent off last season for Luton. That's funny. I won't bring it up, but it's funny. I like that one.
That's funny.
I play more in Naderson's role. I think he'd do well. That's a very good shout. Wayne. That's extremely good shout. And big up to all the Austin as well. If Lucas stays, he's fighting for fourth place for Radu. When he gets fit, I think Radu's going. I think they will ship him out at the end before the window. Don't know if that's enough development alone might be better for him. I don't think so. I think for me, I think Luca's ready for the Premier League. I think he's mature enough. I think he's strong enough. I think he's physically strong. And if you look at his performance today, I think he's got the maturity. He played alongside Romero. And I thought he didn't look out of place with Romero. He did not look out of place one iota. And we've got to keep players like this. We've got to keep players like Bergford's going nowhere. I mean, Bergford, I think, is number one on the list. I think he did have a good game today. But talking about Luca, I think he didn't look out of place playing it with Romero. And
that's what you want to see, right? This is these golden opportunities where you're playing with a guy like Romero, and you step up and take it, right? The issue that I have with Radu Dragusin is because he's still injured, right? And I have not heard when his return date is scheduled, and I don't know if that's going to be that summer. And so, unfortunately, I just don't think that any team is going to step up and try to buy him. Maybe you're with me on this one. Like, I do agree that Radu is eventually going to go, but I think it's going to be a January move.
I don't think so. I think he begun in the summer. I think he will go in the summer. Well, listen, just to let you know, guys, I'm now going to jump off. I know there's a few minutes left of this show to get the watch along ready, guys. So do join us over there at 2:45. At 2:45 or 10 to 3? 10 to 3 for the watch along. I'm sure. Big up to you, madam. It's good. Yes, he is. He is starting. Kudos is in the lineup. Big up to Wayne. Keep Luca at the club on no loan. He's been loaned for long enough. Time to pay the kid in the Spurs. Agree. Philip says Dragusin agent has been trying to get a move for him since the day he signed. That's so true, actually. To be fair, that's true. But I'm leaving you in charge, Steve. So let you take over the captain's chair. I am now going over to get the watch along ready. 10 to 3. 105 of you are already watching. So please do hit the like button, hit the subscription button if you can. And Steve, I see you over there, man.
Sounds like a plan. Yeah, no, the interesting thing, though, is I just don't see a team, stepping in right now to buy a guy like Radu Dragusin while he's still rehabbing and working his way back from an ACL. A team will look at that and think it's damaged goods. And by the way, I don't think Tottenham is going to undersell, with the correlation to his actual market value. I actually do think that's going to be a January move at the earliest, if not next summer. But I digress. One of the things specifically with with today's lineup, for me at least, is it's going to be the combination. I really do believe of that rotating 10, right? Because I do think. I do think for a spell that we're going to see Mikey Moore. Me personally, I think they're going to be attacking with 2 high 10s, and that could be a combination of Kudus and Moore, or it's going to be Tell might drop down a little bit. I doubt. Me personally, I doubt that. But that being said, I could see a scenario where we do see something that we saw in the first half against Reading last week, where we're essentially pushing up with 5 in the midfield, and some wing backs, or at least 4 in the midfield with a left-sided wing back in Udogi, and of course pushing up with 2 high 10s, which would mean that potentially Mikey Moore is going to drift a little centrally, and we're going to see 2 up in the box. The biggest reason why I don't think we're going to be attacking, essentially with traditional wingers. Is because, quite honestly, I don't think the skill set is there for guys like Brendan Johnson and maybe Mohamed Kudus, but for those to play out and out wingers hugging the touchline, for a big part of me just doesn't think that that's going to be what Thomas Frank is going to do. So me personally, I think it's going to be a combination of 2 high attacking 10s with 2 up top. With Brendan Johnson, potentially floating underneath, playing off the shoulder of a guy like Matisse Tell, which is going to open up channels for Tell as well too. So there's a lot of intrigue. The interesting thing though is that double pivot, right? Because I actually do believe that Yves Bissouma is going to be playing that out and out 6 because number one, his dribbling ability. I think me personally, I just don't think he's good in one-on-one situations, and I also think his passing is not good enough to break to be that that line breaking deep line playmaker. I think that's going to go to a guy like Archie Gray, which means Archie Gray is going to be floating a little higher, especially in the counterattack and the buildup. And I think that is going to be the interesting. That's going to be the interesting aspect for me today. Is going to be the play of Archie Gray, the play of Mikey Moore. If both of those youngsters show up, it is this has the potential to be an out and out incredible afternoon today down in Luton. The interesting thing to me is going to see exactly what Luton's going to do on the how Luton's going to handle this one, understanding that we're not necessarily playing our starting 11. It is a collab between the first, second, and the third teams, and so it's going to be interesting to see exactly how that first half plays out. Can I envision something along the lines of what we saw against Wickham? 100%. So and that being said, I mean, if it ends up a 2-2 draw, I'm not necessarily going to be all that upset. The real preseason starts when we head out to the Asian tour, and we're going to know exactly the players that are going to be going on that tour, and it's going to give us a very good idea exactly how the first two teams are going to shake out. Let's see. Here we go. Let's see. Hi, Steve. I think Abbott, in my view, is going to be the cream of the crop of the kids. It's going to be interesting to see if he actually makes that tour. I'll just say that. The interesting thing is, I heard there are teams sniffing around Abbott. We know that Millwall wants Alfie Devine. So there could be a situation where there's going to be guys heading out the door, whether it's on loan or out and out sales. And would I be surprised if Tottenham used this opportunity to sell high on a guy like Abbott? Not at all, because as of right now, the sixth position, Betancourt, Bissouma, and Gray. The interesting thing about that is, even if Abbott comes good, let's say that he goes on the tour and he comes good in certain opportunities that are given, I still don't see a scenario where Abbott's going to crack this first team. So me personally, as of right now, I have him as a loan candidate. Let's see. Didn't Abbott play for the England U21s in the World? I believe he did. And James Joris, good to see you, James. Might have missed this, but thoughts on Sonny's to LAFC? Yeah. As of right now, there is a deal in place that would go as high as $45 million. And now, how this works in Major League Soccer is we have the DP rule, and each team is allowed 3 DPs that do not count against the salary cap. Essentially, you can spend whatever you want on any player in the world, and it will not count against the salary cap. Now, how this works in Major League Soccer and how this works is always in Major League Soccer for high profile players. Generally speaking, the team itself will kick in 50% of the upfront cost, while the league usually plugs in the rest. It's what got Leo Messi to Major League Soccer. Although U.S. Soccer kicked in, and then also there were also deals in place from their television partner, which is Apple TV, and it was a mixture of different financing arms that were able to get there. And of course, Leo Messi makes $50 million a year on top of just his base salary, because of those financial arms that were in place. And so, from everything that I checked out, 50% is coming from LAFC, and 50% of it is going to come from Major League Soccer. And from that standpoint, it makes sense that Major League Soccer would love to have them, because, as you know, in the United States, we have a very healthy and vibrant Asian American population, and especially in LA, which is the biggest Korean population in the US. I think that would give Sonny a soft landing in the United States, and also playing in a league where He's probably going to start. He's probably going to be playing at a pace where it's probably going to suit him now. The only question that I have is whether or not he's going to be able to handle the travel in the U.S. Because again, it's not like England where at most you may be a couple hours away from London. In the U.S., obviously from the West Coast to the East Coast, you're looking at an 8-hour flight, and there's a lot of travel. So whether or not he's going to be able to to withstand that, it was one of the big problems that Messi had when he first came over. It's the extensive travel. So what's Freddie Adu up to these days? I think he's coaching. Last I heard, but good shout out for Freddie Adu. All right, so quick question before we call this one. I want to know what you guys think in the chat today. Give us your score predictions, but also give me a detailed expectation that you have from certain players. Is there anybody that you guys are focusing on against Luton? And and how do you think this is going to play out? So definitely hit me up in the chat there. I'm curious to see. I actually think that Spurs will probably win this one. Based on, I have no idea, but that it's interesting because it is preseason, and it's going to be interesting to see exactly. I'm not going to say the word motivation because I think these guys are motivated. It's just how they're going to mentally approach this match. The one thing that I will say is that forward line of Tell, Johnson, and Kudus. I think you're going to see. I think you're especially Mohamed Kudus and Brendan Johnson. I do agree with Dermot. I do think there's going to be heavy motivation. Same with Matisse Tell. Again, natural striker that has been put on the wings last year with Spurs, and so maybe there is some motivation for Tell to prove that he can actually be a part of that striker rotation. But it's going to be, for me, the two biggest players that I'm highlighting are going to be Archie Gray playing in that box to box deep lying playmaker role, and of course Mikey Moore, who probably get a long look at the 10 today. So I think last week against Reading, I thought you saw Mikey Moore play with a lot of confidence as he was shaded a little bit more centrally. I thought he was being brave by putting balls into the box. He got slinky on the end of a couple. And I just think that he looked in place amongst the senior players. So I'm looking to see that next step from Mikey Moore as well too. So I'm going to go 3-1 Spurs. And it looks like Audio Artisan has come up and said 3-0 Spurs. Kudus with 2, Moore with 1. G Giant says 2-1 Spurs. Okay. And James Joris says 3-1, looking for Vic to have a better day with the ball at his feet, and on set pieces, he is still shaky with the ball at his feet. I don't know about that. I don't necessarily agree with that, but it's going to be interesting. Do I think Kudus might bag 2? That's a good shout, though. That's a good shout. Kudus with a brace. So, as far as Vicario goes, again, man, this is just preseason, and I think he's just with the new coach, there's a new set level of expectations for goalkeepers, and I think that's exactly what he's working on. I would probably assume come match 1 of the Premier League, you're going to see a very good Guillermo Vicario in net. I thought we saw somebody different as he came back from injury last season. He played night and day differently than he did in the first half. He looked far more confident on set pieces. And didn't look like the Flappy Bird as we saw in the first half. So I just think his growth has been immense. So I'm in that minority that thinks Vicario is one of the better keepers in the Premier League. It's nice to see Williams Barnett in the last game. His play was pretty tidy. Absolutely. All right, so guys, we're almost at the end, and. For me, like the Wickham match, I think this is going to be an opportunity for certain guys to potentially take advantage of it. When I look at the bench, for me, guys like Dane Scarlett, guys like Will Lancashire, I'm sure we're going to see Yang Min Hook. Alfie Devine at some point, and I think Callum Aloise is probably going to get some run out as well too. And especially for those first team fringe players, this is an opportunity to go out there and make Thomas Frank's job hard. For those that don't know, I spent a lot of time in player development in Major League Soccer, so I've seen a lot of training camps and preseasons where there were young kids that may necessarily weren't going to factor in, but because they had an excellent preseason, it turned their fortunes around, and they eventually made the team. And so it can happen. One of the things that has to happen is maybe even playing with potential blinders on, understanding, not necessarily feeding into the frenzy of this is such a massive important, but just going out there and playing like they did when they were kids, and just playing loose, free, and easy, and letting the game come to them. And I certainly think that there are opportunities out here today. I guess the question is, of some of these young kids as of right now, quick question, who do you think makes the first team? That's a very good question. So that's going to do it for me. I hope you guys enjoy the match. As we're done, we're going to jump on over to the watch along, and we'll see you there. Have a great day.
From lane to far and wide, with the pride of the fight. On this journey we'll